What's going on, everyone? It's Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. Now, we have been talking a lot about the administration, and this video is no different. So what I wanted to give you today are industries that you can get into with this Trump/Elon administration. So let's get right into it. So since there are just so many things going on and so many things transpiring, it's a little hard to try to comb through all the fluff and all the BS and just really try to figure out, okay, at the end of the day, what do I need to get into? What industry do I need to pursue? What's the best thing to do for right now? And there are some things that we can hope as a country we have more access to do performance or provide services or products for these 8 things that I got from multiple sources that I pieced all together for you guys, for you to at least explore some of these industries. Let's just say you create paper straws. We know that was gone in an instant. Unfortunately, if you create paper straws, you no longer in business, essentially, for the most part, or what we think is going to happen or what has already happened, and if it's going to continue to happen. So if you're in an industry that has maybe been shifted because of the government right now, like DEI is a big one. I knew a few people who that was their main business, is to be an educator of DEI to organizations, and now pretty much I need to get someone on my channel actually to see exactly what has transpired with their company and how they've had to pivot. But let's just say you want to just try something new, or you're new, and if you're new, welcome. New into government contracting or new to my video, I want to give you a couple of industries or a couple of businesses that you can just start right now or pivot toward or just think about moving forward in this administration. So the first one is going to be defense and national security. This is no surprise because we all know really anytime we always need to have as much money going to the troops as possible. Those, I'm a veteran. Many of my followers are veterans. My daughter is now also a veteran. So trust me, we know how that spending is and how plentiful it is when it comes to national security and Department of Justice, which is DOD. And some of those things that are going to continue or to grow are going to be the military spending, of course, and anything that supports military spending or anything that supports military functioning, such as weapons or clothing, food for troops, all the things you could possibly think of. It would be to help support those who are fighting for our country. So I got my little notes over here, so don't mind me. But the expected, sustained, or increased focus on defense contracts, cybersecurity, national security technology, companies in the aerospace, defense contracting, and cybersecurity will likely benefit. So I know a lot of my students and even those who I know are into cybersecurity heavily. So you might want to explore that a little bit more. If you're just in IT and you're not sure if you should get into cybersecurity, this is probably one of the more keen times to get into it, especially since some of this data leakage that we are worried about is probably upcoming. We need to have more security for our technology systems. So key areas are weapon systems, intelligence, and military infrastructure. So if you're already working in those fields or something like it, then you're on the right track. If not, then you may want to think about pivoting over to those particular disciplines. So the number 2 thing is energy, which is oil, gas, and renewables. The deregulation and fossil fuels policies may encourage oil, natural gas, coal production along with infrastructure projects related to energy, pipelines, and refineries. Okay, so whatever all of that is. But those who are in the industry understand what that stuff is and how you can either pivot over to that or increase that in your company in particular, or just start brand new. Of course, I'm all about starting in something that you're able to do, but also something that you're interested in. What if you may have been the person that is doing paper straws, but I worked in energy before for other companies. Why not do that? I actually met a gentleman in EBV, the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp for Veterans that I teach at Texas A&M, and he had been doing a lot of energy projects for corporate agencies, and then he started a different business, and then he just ended up saying, why am I going over to this industry when I've already had quite a bit of experience with Fortune 500 companies doing energy? So boom, there it is. Sometimes things will make you just circle back around to what you originally were doing. So there's nothing wrong with that. So the key areas are drilling, energy infrastructure, and renewables. And so there could be a continuing investment in renewable energy as a part of the broader economic strategy. So could be, of course, is a word, but we always talked about this regardless of what administration there has been, we have been a part of. So, just keeping that in mind, that is something that is on the horizon for the US, hopefully. The number 3 thing is going to be infrastructure and construction. Of course, that is basically my industry. We do facility management for Foresight Industries, but we also dabble into construction every now and then. They also are keying in on roads, bridges, railways, airports, and public buildings. So remember, a lot of people going back to work. So with that being said, you know, there's going to be a need for more services and products for some of these federal buildings that had been abandoned since COVID. Again, I've talked about this in other videos where I was a federal employee. I have multiple friends who are federal employees, so I'm not saying this in any type of disrespectful way, but there are going to be an increase in services needed for a lot of these buildings that are owned by the government, by state government and federal government, and even corporate agencies where they didn't need it before, but now that everyone's back at work, or most people are back at work, they are going to need services and products. So infrastructure and construction, there's going to be more people driving on the roads. There's going to be more things going on. If you think about anything to do with people driving, people being on the road, and any types of structures that are in place that were already needing help, and how much more help structures are going to need, how many more roads we're probably going to need now that most people are back at work or going to work for the first time. So if the administration focused on rebuilding America's infrastructure as it has in the past, local and state construction projects will increase. So that goes without saying. We've visited that multiple times as a country. The number 4 thing is going to be technology and innovation. Again, because of all the changes since COVID, there's going to be an increase in a lot of data technology that's going to need to be monitored, evaluated, changed, updated, etc. And so tech sectors could see continued growth, especially in AI, artificial intelligence, which of course we saw that since COVID, and how much that has just boomed and increased, and we didn't even know it was coming. Most of us didn't know it was coming, even if you worked in IT. Also with 5G technology and automation. So some of the key areas are IT services, data analytics, and robotics. So, you know, we've been seeing some of these near lifelike robots, and it's a little scary. It's a little scary. And we have no choice but to embrace it, because just like a lot of things that we dealt with was scary. Let me do a quick story. So I remember when I feel like I'm aging myself, even though I don't feel old. Your girl's getting old. So I remember when I used to buy my pager, like I had a pager, but I used to get like different colors, and I don't know why it seemed like I was always buying a pager, a beeper, pager, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, that's when cell phones were first becoming like more commercially used. You didn't have to be a drug dealer. You could just be a regular person buying a cell phone. And in that pager office, they also started selling, or store, they started selling cell phones. And so I remember a gentleman, I wanted to buy one for my boyfriend at the time, and the phone wasn't even on. I guess we were going to use a calling card. I don't remember what I planned on doing with it, but I wanted to buy him a cell phone just so he can have it. And the gentleman that came in, he said, "Oh man, I'll never use those cell phones. Don't they cause cancer in your brain?" And I was like, "You right, like that's not a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't do this because cell phones cause cancer." But now the children have cell phones. So, you know, it may be scary at the beginning, but it may be beneficial. We just have to roll with the punches and everything that comes with it. So just a little side note I wanted to add to that. But the number 5 thing is going to be manufacturing and reshoring. So the Made in America focus, whether you agree with it or not, whether you agree with it or not. There may be renewed efforts to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. through incentives for automotive, steel, technology manufacturing. Okay, so that can be good and bad, because that means our prices are naturally going to go up, but it could also mean more jobs locally. So we just have to see how that's going to play out, if it's going to play out the way that it's originally intended, because we've tried this a few times throughout the country and or throughout the years in this country, and it hasn't always been super effective. So we just have to see how that's going to play out. But let's just all try to keep positive vibes with this whole situation, okay? The key areas for the manufacturing and reshoring is factory automation, semiconductors, and consumer electronics, because we know most of our stuff that's electronic comes from out of the country. Another side story. I feel like I just have so many stories, but I think it helps give context to things, right? I remember being in Korea a long time ago when I was stationed in Korea, and my little cell phone that I had, I was able to record songs as a ringtone. Remember we used to have ringtones back back in the day. It sounds so crazy because now everyone keeps their phone on silent for the most part, or you just use the regular old factory ringtone and nobody cares. But back in the day, having a ringtone was popping, okay? Like, you had to have the best song, like, just, oh man, we were wild. We were super wild. But I was able to record a piece, any part of a song onto my phone and use it as a ringtone. Oh my God, I don't even know why I brought that up, but it's just so hilarious how things, like, some things change and some things stay the same. And really, we just went back to having the phone having just a regular ringtone. It's just so crazy. The next thing, the number 6 thing, is going to be healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Now, we've seen a huge uptick in pharmaceuticals. We've seen some shifts in healthcare just in the past couple of weeks. We don't really know what that's going to be. There's so many things again, but if you're in the healthcare and the pharmaceutical industries, then here, or you're looking to get into either of those, here's some of the things that could be, great for you in what we presume to be a more effective government in 2025. Okay, so regulatory changes, the policies that focus on reducing drug prices, improving healthcare access, and possibly expanding the use of telemedicine could benefit the pharmaceutical and health tech sectors. So you remember, most of us who have been around, at least for been in America, maybe even other countries, I'm sure, we remember when telemedicine just kind of like popped up out of nowhere. Like, you can just see your doctor via Zoom, and that's totally acceptable. Whereas 15, 20 years ago, it would not have been as acceptable unless you just had a doctor that was on vacation at that time, but you had to see him in person. There was no such thing as telehealth, really, especially not with that name. But now we'd rather do that, and the doctors rather do that as well. So some of the key areas for the health and pharmaceuticals would be biotech, pharmaceuticals, and telehealth. As I stated with telehealth, but biotech as well. So if you're in that industry or you're looking to get into that industry, it may be beneficial for you right now. The number 7 thing is agriculture and food production. Now, this is growing to be one of my favorite industries in a way, personally, not necessarily to like start my business for me, because I am a plant mama. I know I don't have any plants in here because this room usually stays dark, but I have a forest. Okay, I have literally like a lot of plants in my house, and I really gotten into agriculture a little bit more just on the personal side and how I want to expand that in my life. And then food production, creating your own food. Even if you're growing a grape tree, a grapevine, or a tomato vine or tree, and you just have that for yourself, it's like, wow, I can actually grow food and survive if the zombies come, So agriculture and food production, support for farmers. Now, this is a great update that I hadn't really gotten to yet. Agricultural policies could continue to offer subsidies and support for American farmers, especially those in traditional farming sectors affected by trade or environmental issues. I have seen some things about how farmers are being they are not being supported. So this is, again, in this climate right now, things are up and down. We don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. I know, but if there is a continued push to help farmers, and you were looking to get into that, I would do my own research to make sure that nothing has significantly changed at the making of this video. Nothing significantly has changed in order to hurt farmers. So if you're looking to be a farmer and you're like, well, Sheena told me to be a farmer, well, make sure you do your research first to see what the regulations are for new farmers, existing farmers, or what the regulations are for food production and other types of farming. Okay. So the key areas are crop production, AG tech, and food processing. So if you're into that, that's for you. The number 8 thing is going to be real estate and housing. Again, going back to the construction, the tax policies and development. If there's a focus on tax reforms or deregulation in urban development, real estate and housing projects could see an increased investment, especially in the commercial and affordable housing markets. This is a tough one because it's like gentrification. And so if you don't know what gentrification is, it's basically, gentrification is a sensitive word. And I actually wanted to make sure I gave the dictionary version, and the dictionary version is harsh, but it's true. As a previous real estate investor, it's like I get it, My grandmama was one of those people who stayed in the apartment for over 20 years, okay? And if a company was gonna come and buy up that whole area, my grandmother would have been displaced with nowhere to go. So I'm very sympathetic to it. I volunteer with companies who help elderly to not be displaced due to gentrification. So, you know, but as an investor, it's like sometimes you do have to build up some of these neighborhoods in order for your bottom line and your profit to go up. But anyway, the definition of gentrification is the process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. That's way harsh, but I don't want to say it is what it is because I don't feel like it should be it is what it is, but it just is. And so unless someone is able to buy back the block, like Rick Ross said, then we have to suffer with gentrification or be the ones who are buying the properties and keeping people in their houses. So anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about these 8 industries, right? Or 9 or 10, whichever ones I said. I thought I said 8, but I have more than that for you. So real estate and housing. The key areas are residential construction, urban development, and property management. So I went to real estate appraisal school, okay? And I might go back because I didn't follow. It was a very challenging process, but I do know that there are not enough appraisers. So everybody wants to be a real estate agent, a broker. They want to do investing, but really, if you're willing to go to a little bit of school and be an apprentice and that type of thing, we really need appraisers. And a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be an appraiser because I don't want to climb under a house. That's inspectors. That's not appraisers. And appraisers really, for the schooling that you have to do, is way harder than the work you actually have to do, right? So you just have to be able to determine how much a house is worth. That's it. You're not climbing, crawling, none of that. It's just to evaluate, yep, based on the comps. It's a little harder than that, but based on the comps, blah, 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 this is what this house should be worth. So if anybody wants to get into real estate, be an appraiser. There needs to be more appraisers. When I was going through trying to figure out how to do it in 2018 or 2019, there weren't a lot of people I could find to be an apprentice with or for. Because that's the only way for you to get your license or certification. But nonetheless, if you want to get into something quick, $500, I mean, sometimes appraisals can get done in 30 minutes, and that's $500. So I might go back to school to do that. Who wants to join me? If you want to join me and be a real estate appraiser, put it in the comments, okay? If you bold, put it in the comments. Okay, so the last thing, number 9. I thought I had 10, but I have 9, it looks like. I have 9, so forgive me. But I'm having so much fun with y'all. So the number 9 thing is going to be financial services and banking. So the deregulation, a focus on deregulating Wall Street and financial institutions such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which I was so sick because I use that website, okay? I've used it multiple times to go up against companies, and they work very, very, very efficiently. Very great, essentially agency that helps people, but I don't know what's to come of that. But anyway, deregulating Wall Street and financial institutions could provide growth opportunities for investing firms, private equity, and banking sectors. Not to say that I dislike any of those, but, private equity firms don't typically need a whole lot of help, or investment firms. So, but if you are looking to do that maybe at a smaller scale or even at a large scale, hey, more power to you. It seems like you might have a lot of work for you in the next little bit. So the key areas are investment banking, fintech, and real estate investment trust called REITs. So of course, I was in real estate, so I'm familiar with that. That's basically like a mutual fund essentially for real estate. REITs. Anyways, so I wanted to give you those few things to do in this Trump-Elon era of industries that you can get started in and why. I think it's important for us to continue to go and continue to grow. So if there's anything, again, that you want me to talk about, leave it in the comments below and I may talk about it because it's important for me to deliver the information to you guys in order for you all to have the information you need to get started. So stop being afraid and get started. I just gave you 9 industries for you to get into. Some of them are going to take school, some of them are going to take experience, or you can partner with someone that does some of these things and you can be the person that puts together the paperwork. That's okay too. As long as you guys know what you're doing, I'm good with it. So until next time, it's your favorite veteran.